Ladies, you all know how much I absolutely hate having my picture taken. I detest it, okay? So it might surprise you that I've been hanging out lately with a photographer. My guest today is Marsha Lane Foster, and
Good morning.
she's gonna talk to us about all kinds of things because I know you're thinking, okay, photographer, but she's kind of special. So welcome to the Rebel Tribe podcast, where empowerment
Thanks. I'm excited.
and sass meets savvy. We're not just another podcast. We're your virtual tribe of fierce females ready to conquer the world. So join us as we smash through stereotypes and break barriers and redefine what it means to be a woman in today's world. And Marsha does all of those things. And the reason I love her is she helps other women do all of those things through her work. So Marsha, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Let's get right to it, girl.
Mm.
I absolutely, as you know, hate photos. You had to do a little arm twisting to come and get me to do headshots, and I did that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I had to be persistent for a while, but you came through.
I did them. It was time. Okay.
Yes, it was.
But it was fun. And while I was there, I discovered these other things that you do. And at first I was still like, I don't know how that would work. But then I was actually reading, I was on your page and I was watching comments from other women about how empowering it was to work with you. So let's just put it out there. Boudoir photography. How in that to me would be, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I don't see me doing it anytime soon, maybe. Okay. Although
Well,
I'm
you'd be
working on the
surprised.
idea, so we'll maybe. How does boudoir photography actually empower women?
Well, even boudoir photography done not so well has an empowering factor to it. So I would say that unless somebody really flubs it up bad and you do it with them, then it's going to be empowering to you to some degree. But I've been shooting boudoir. I've been a professional photographer for 14 years now. This October will be 14 years for me. And about 12 of that, I have specialized in boudoir. And how that came about is a whole story within itself.
I have time.
But from the very beginning, whenever I first started being a photographer, I was shooting everything, weddings and kids and engagements and everything that I could just to try to make a buck. And I really didn't know that I needed to specialize, and I didn't understand what that meant to specialize. I thought, oh, well, I'm a portrait photographer. That's what my specialty is. But I stumbled onto boudoir photography at a photography conference that I went to, and there was a lady there named Jen Rosenbaum from New York City who was shooting boudoir only, and she was teaching a class on it. And it kind of fascinated me because she was talking about how it empowered women and how it changed their lives. And I found that interesting because I have domestic violence in my past. I was in an abusive marriage for 17 years, from the time I was 17 until I was 35. So half of my life at that point had been wrapped up in that marriage, and it was pretty ugly in the beginning. So it really spoke to me because I needed to be empowered myself, and I was still so broken at that time. And I feel like that I was seeking to empower myself also, but when I help other women, it helps me. So every time I've photographed a woman over all of these years, the hundreds and hundreds of women that come through my studio, it's healed me incrementally every time. And I know that it's healed them. So from the very beginning, I made decisions about how I was going to spin what I do. Boudoir photography is normally marketed to women as a gift for their husband or their lover. And I decided from the beginning that I wanted to make it a personal development experience that was for the woman. So if someone got a gift from it, that's fine. But many of my clients are not even in relationships, and they're doing it for themselves as a healing process and a healing tool. And I mean, I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but over the years, I have watched this process, and it goes about the same every time. You know, everybody's working through different things. At the consultation in the beginning, we sit down and talk about why they want to do this. And I craft it as a personal development experience the entire way. And is it fun? Yes, and it should be fun, but it depends on your personal intentions. Some women are, you know, like, I'm in a great place in my life and I just want to have some fun. And some women have really deep-seated things that they need to work on with themselves or get over. And one of the shocking things that I have learned from working with women for the past 12 years is the number of women who have been either molested as children or raped as children or adults. And I feel like the odds are a little higher on people that come through my studio, but I would say probably 60% of women that come through tell me stories like this. And they tell me very personal stories when they come in for their consultations. And I feel honored that they trust me enough and feel comfortable enough with me to tell me that. So how does boudoir photography empower women? Well, it empowers you because it's reflecting a beautiful photograph of you. Most women don't have photographs of themselves that they love. And I think it's important that everyone have a photograph of themselves that they love, even if it's only one, and that's your go-to. If someone asks for a photograph of you, you can send them that and say, this is mine and I love it and I love the way I look, and you can feel confident about it. So making it into a personal development experience is how I have used it to empower others. And then that spills over to everything else I do too. So no matter how you're getting in front of my lens, and I do a limited number of things, which we'll talk about too, but I want to empower everybody in front of my lens. And then in turn, I empower myself and heal myself.
I have to admit, I've seen some boudoir photography, and I've gone to the, you know, back in the day when it was popular, I did the glamour shots, and it felt
That's what most people associate it with. Yes, for a frame of reference.
and it felt not me at all. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think I got a couple photos out of there that were, you know, I mean, my husband loved them. He's got, you know.
Right. Right.
But it was
Well,
so not
that's
me, 'cause I don't, it's not me. I mean, this is me, okay? Harley t-shirt.
right.
I don't.
Well, it's a cookie cutter experience that they, you know, back when that was popular, that they ran everybody through the exact same process, and it was fast and it was intended to make money. And there's nothing wrong with making money with business. I mean, I have to make money or I'm not going to be in business. But the difference between that and what I do is I spend so much time listening to my clients and talking about their preferences. One of the things we do is we use Pinterest as a tool. And so I have them make a board and put things on that board that they like so that I can get a feel for their aesthetic. And when I do that, I can't replicate. I don't want to replicate those things, but I want to use them as inspiration for them. So I spend a lot of time collaborating with them. And I always tell my clients when they come in here that I don't want them to feel like it's just me talking at them. It, in my mind, is two artists collaborating together on a joint project. So that's how I approach it.
Well, like I said, I've looked at other people's boudoir photographers, and I've done the glamour shots thing, and it was just, I don't know, tacky was the word that sprang to mind.
Right.
But yours is art is the only word I could come up with when I was looking. It's like, these are gorgeous. This is art. And that's why when I said I don't know that I could ever do it, maybe, okay.
You could, you're
I'm
just
leaning
not in the
that way,
place
'cause
yet.
it's art. It's not tacky. It's not, trying to think of the right word here. It's not sleazy. Okay. You're not, like
Right.
you said, you are not photographing it for their husbands. You are doing it for them, and it's a whole different vibe. So
It is, but I do both. I mean, I have clients who come in here and they're doing it specifically for the gift, but what I tell them, those women, is that even though you're using this as a gift, the experience is yours. So the experience of planning, collaborating with me, you know, coming and getting your hair and your makeup done with your lashes, and, you know, basically playing dress up all day and getting your photograph taken, getting to be a model for a day, that experience is yours, and it's fun and it's empowering, and nobody can take that from you, even if you give the photos to someone else. So that's kind of how another, you know, one of the ways that I approach it. There's nothing wrong with giving it as a gift. And more I'm having clients who are doing that. I've never really had brides until the last year. I've had so many brides in the last year, so obviously they're using it for a gift. But the the mood in my boudoir studio has lightened quite a bit over the last few years, because I was so heavy on the personal development side of it. In about 2015, I decided that I had something in me that needed to come out. And so that's actually when I started my fine art photography career. And I transferred a lot of that heavy lifting, emotional stuff that I was doing over to my fine art career, which lightened the mood in the boudoir studio a lot. So there's a lot more fun here, and a lot less, not less working through junk, which we still do. But taking those heavy issues over to my fine art practice, for instance, this is an example of this was my first project. It's called The Hostage Project. So this is a book I put together for the Hostage Project. And I shot it in 2015 and it exhibited in 2016. So it took me a full year to shoot it. And that project was really my healing and so many other women's healing, because it was about it started out being about domestic violence, and then it grew into the question that I asked women: what holds you back or prevents you from prospering? And I was just flooded with all of these responses from women who were pouring their hearts out to me on email, on text, on Facebook Messenger, and that became the basis of that project. So it was an amalgamation of my own experiences and other women's experiences. So, for instance, like I said, that one started as domestic violence, and then what holds women back. I've done fine art projects, trichotillomania. I hope I'm saying that right, but that's a compulsive need to pull out your hairs, a coping mechanism. So I've done a project, fine art project about that. I have one called Awakening the Divine Feminine, which is about a woman who's coming into her realization and her own that her calling was to be a shaman. And you've seen those on my walls, the girl in the nest, and the one with the fire behind her. So that's kind of how things evolved in the studio. And then I also do headshots in personal branding, because I'm heavy on business and I feel everybody deserves that and needs that for their business, or their career. And then, quite honestly, headshots feeds my boudoir business, because women come in here and they find out that it's fun and easy to work with me. And, you know, maybe they've had an inkling of boudoir, but they're not ready yet. And so that the headshots is kind of a little bit of testing of the waters to see what it would be like to work with me. And then many of them go on and do boudoir sessions with me.
Well, and I love the fact that you brought up the Hostage Project, because I did want to talk to you about that, because it is still impactful even 7 years later, 6 years later, however many. You said 2015. Yeah. So yeah, because I was, as you know, I have a grandson who's working to be a photographer, and he's kind of like you. He does not want to be a wedding photographer or graduation photographer. He wants to create art.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed him that, and he was just like, wow, okay, this is what I want to do. This is so cool. She gets me. And I'm like,
well, I can't wait to visit with him about it. It's kind of an evolution. like I said, I shot everything under the sun, and I was a wedding photographer for years, and mostly as a second shooter with other people, and I did it on my own too. But I don't want to shoot weddings now, but I wouldn't take anything for the trial by fire that I received as a wedding photographer, because if you can learn to shoot weddings and shoot weddings well, then you can do anything, because it is a perfect storm on that day. You've got time limits, you've got people who are stressed and sometimes cranky, and so there's a lot of emotions flying around. You've got all different kinds of lighting scenarios inside and outside. So if you can learn to do that well, it's really great training for anything else that you would choose to do in the photography realm.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, I've got some horror stories about my wedding day, so I can relate. Okay, the first one, not the second one. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot going on a wedding day.
Yes, there was.
And I was never able to really break into the big money weddings. And so what ended up happening to me in the majority of weddings that I shot was I ended up kind of being the day of coordinator in addition to the photographer, because they didn't have a wedding planner or a coordinator. And I would have to coordinate the day, or else I couldn't get the photos that I needed to get. So I would make timelines and tell everybody where they needed to be, and collaborate with the bride and the groom on getting that done. And that may be a little bit because I'm a control freak, and a little bit because I get overly into planning. But to do a good job, I felt like I had to know what was going on and not just show up and everything be willy-nilly. So that taught me a lot of the skills that I use today, planning my boudoir sessions, planning my fine art shoots and everything. I learned that doing weddings.
Well, I went and did the headshots with you, like I said, and like you said, I was like, found out that it was not too bad.
It's not too bad.
I actually found a couple that I liked and I've used.
Oh, more than a couple. Come on.
So
how many did you end up with? 10?
Something like that.
Or 11. I think you ended up with 11.
Well, of the headshots, I don't remember.
Yeah. Of your personal branding. And
yeah,
for someone, and I know you wouldn't have gotten those had you not loved them. So, I mean, you are a woman sitting in front of me right now who has 11 photographs of herself that she loves.
Yep. And the headshots are what led me to do the personal branding, because like you said, I got in there and discovered that you're not annoying to work with, and it was actually kind of fun. And so I signed up for the personal branding. Now, I've had branding photos done before when I did my book launch back in 2016. And I didn't know you then, so I worked with another photographer, and it was like, show up at the studio, stand still, pose here. But it was kind of like, I don't know. I did not like them, but I used them because I didn't have anything else. But I wasn't in love with them, and I've never used them for anything else. It's on it's on the book jacket, and that's it. But so,
well, how was that experience different than what you experienced with me with your personal branding day?
Yeah, it was very different. So number one, you took the time with the hair and the makeup, which really helped, because I don't do makeup. Can you tell? Okay. I don't do
You're
makeup.
very natural. You're very natural.
So it was very different to come in and have someone do my hair and makeup. I also don't do my hair, as you can tell. So
yes,
it looked good.
Was it empowering to have your hair and makeup done?
It was. I felt like I actually was professional. I felt like I looked professional. So that was the first thing. And then but the next thing was, like you said you do with the boudoir photography, you sat down and you talked to me about who am I and who is my brand, or what is my brand. So it's not all posed, like a lot of branding photos are, the women behind the desk or the power poses in the suits and everything, because that's not me. I don't think I own a suit, maybe a couple. But
well, we did that, but it was you. You were dressed the way that you wanted to be dressed. And, my goal is to pose you, but not make you look posed. And that's a fine line.
Oh yeah, I do. I think I could take one in that kind of a suit thing. So yeah, I think I took one, but the rest of them are all like my leather jacket, which I live in, or my sassy pants, which I wear all the time.
Mhm.
Kind of one of my things is, I'm putting my sassy pants on today. So I have, my sassy pants and a sweater. And I mean, I felt so comfortable because it's who I am. You didn't try to make me into something that I'm not, so I could have professional looking branding photos, because I'm not
Well,
that.
that wouldn't be you.
And it really made me feel comfortable and, yes, and empowered. And I love the ones in my leather jacket. I use them a lot. Okay. If you saw the promotions that were being done for the Wealth Without Walls, where I was a speaker, the photo that I used for that is the leather jacket one, because I love it. It's that I live in that jacket.
I
So
love that.
how did you
I
decide
love
to
that.
go into all of that? I mean, most photographers aren't going to mess with hair and makeup, and you're not glamour shots. So
Well, I mean, I started working with hair and makeup, way back whenever I was doing weddings, because that's a big part of the wedding. And then when I got over into boudoir, I was very insecure about myself and my work, and I was really wanted everything to look professional. And I had looked at a lot of boudoir photos, and honestly, if you let a woman do her own hair and makeup and show up here at the studio, you just don't know what you're going to get. So it helps me to kind of exercise some control over the situation and make sure that we have good stuff to work with. Because one thing I learned from weddings is that if you don't get the photo that day, it's the photographer's fault. It's not, it may not be your fault, but ultimately, if someone's not where they belong, it's going to be your fault because you didn't get the photo. And it's the same thing whenever people are paying you for photos. If you don't get the shot, it's your fault. So I knew that hair and makeup needed to be a part of the experience, not only from the things that I had learned from studying it, but and taking cues from my mentor at that time, Jennifer Rosenbaum. But now I do shoot people without makeup now, because I have a style called bodyscapes or fine art, and it's mostly about your body. So there's really no need for makeup unless you want it. But a lot of women add that on to their full day of sexy, which is more like of a lifestyle look of boudoir, where you're in your bedroom, or, you look like you're on a sofa, things like that. So you look like you're in your house, which is my goal for that. So I'm a lot more confident now, and I could do session without hair and makeup. But back then, it was really a part of the professionalism that I wanted to project. And also, when I started shooting boudoir in Northwest Arkansas, nobody knew what it was. Boudoir has gone in cycles over the years, and I think it had a little surgence in the 80s and maybe a little after the 80s, around that glamour shots time for women that were a little bit more adventurous than glamour shots. But for the most part, we're in the middle of the country, so trends come to Arkansas quite a bit after they hit the coast. And although boudoir photography was popular on the coasts already, it wasn't here, and nobody knew what I was doing. People would call me and say, okay, it's time for my fall family photos. And I remember that first year I said, I'm sorry, I don't do that anymore. And do you know how hard that was to turn that down? Because I'm thinking in my mind, I'm literally turning down money. I'm turning down work. What the heck is wrong with me? But I was so committed to my vision and what I wanted to do that I did that. And it took a little bit for it to catch on, because nobody knew what it was here. And I actually got quite a bit of pushback in the beginning, because we are in the Bible Belt here. And even though Northwest Arkansas is kind of a bubble and a lot more liberal than the rest of the state, we're still in the Bible Belt, and we're still hometown. And I got a lot of pushback from people. My fine art projects are also usually some degree of nudity, so I got pushback on that too. I don't hear much of that stuff anymore, because I've kind of cultivated my tribe, and people who see me and see what I do want to see me. And also, I don't get perturbed about it anymore. When people don't like me or what I do, I don't care anymore. I do what I do. And if you like it, fine. If you don't, fine. But people do. People like it. People give me thousands of dollars to make their photograph. And that's very gratifying and lets me know that I'm on the right track.
Well, and yes, and they are very, like I said, they're very tasteful and artistic. They're not, it's not porn, ladies. Okay.
It is not porn, but I do want to clarify that I mean I have lots of photographs that nobody ever sees. Anything that you see boudoir wise online from me, I have permission to share those from the person in the photograph. I never share anything without permission. I probably have a little bit more nudity on my website than I do on social media, because social media is really cracked down on that, and they'll get you and ban you. And I don't want that to happen, because my tribe is on Facebook, and I get a lot of business from it. I used to get all my business from Facebook, and now I get business from Google a lot and personal referrals. But that would be devastating to me to lose that audience. So I try to walk the line a little bit. But I have photographed men in the boudoir studio, couples and different kinds of couples, same-sex couples. And I kind of, it's just something that's grown from the boudoir for women. And I realized that boudoir for men work the same way. And I was very skeptical about doing that in the beginning when I was first approached by it. But then I was amazed to find out that, not as many men are receptive to that, but I have had some men who have done it and had the same effects as the women, feeling more themselves and empowered. And the couples sessions have a little bit different feel. They are more about, having a day with the person that you love, to be intimate, and then have photographs of that. Now, I do have limits to what I will photograph on that, which I get asked sometimes. And I always tell people, is like, we do simulated. That's what we do here, simulated. We don't do the real thing, if you know what I mean. But it's all for the same. With me, it's all for the same result, whether I'm doing fine art or headshots or personal branding or contemporary glamour, which is something that's similar to boudoir, but more clothed. No matter how I'm photographing you, I want you to leave my studio feeling empowered, having seen photographs on my camera already that that you like. So even before you see your photographs at your reveal, you're leaving the studio and the shoot that day knowing that I got good stuff and you're excited about it. And then when you come back to do your reveal, people are always like, wow, these haven't been edited or retouched. And I mean, I do real basic edits with light and cropping for my clients to see their proofs, but they haven't been retouched yet. And to me, when a woman says, I love that photograph and it hasn't been retouched, is a big win for me. And I think it's a huge win for them too, because this is what you look like. And women especially, and men do this too, but we get this idea of ourselves built up in our head of what we look like, and we're not ready for photographs when we have our photographs made and it doesn't look good because you're not ready. Photography is a production process just like film production. It's just still photos instead of moving.
I love the
So when
fact,
you go through that production process, you're going to look good.
and you worked so hard to put us at ease. I mean, because you could tell I was uncomfortable right from the start, because I don't like, I've never liked photographs. I've just never have, because I don't think I photograph well. So it was amazing to me that you were able to put me at ease so quickly.
Apparently I have a talent for that, because if you go and read my Google reviews or my Facebook reviews, over and over again, women say that they just felt so comfortable. Couples do too. Everybody says that, even for headshots. And I mean, it is something I do intentionally, and I know that that's what I'm doing and that is my intention, but I have some kind of talent. I don't know if talent, skill, I don't know what that is that I have, but I think it comes from having been through the things in my life that I have been through. And I'm not perfect. And do I judge people sometimes? Yes. But it's like when I'm photographing, when I'm working with clients and I'm in the studio, it's like there is none of that. I am so open-minded and so it's like people who believe in the third eye or believe in chakras. And it's like my heart chakra is wide open, my third eye is wide open, and it's my flow state. When I photograph, that's my flow state. And that's when I feel like I'm the closest to universe or God or whatever you want to call it. And then I think that spills over to my clients. And I wanted to ask you, when you think about what you did with your photos, do you think about the experience more, or do you think about the photos that you have?
Oh, well, I definitely think about actually both, because like I'm so not photogenic, I think. So I think about the photos a lot because it's like they look really good.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also think about the experience, because they would not have looked that good, even if you wore the same clothes and the same hair and makeup and everything and did the same poses, they would still not look that good, because the smile would be that plastered on fake
Mm-hmm.
smile. And on times when I was just like, I can't smile anymore because I'm not a big smiley person either.
But you
Okay.
don't have to be smiley and everything. You don't. I mean, I want to bring forth who you are as a person, and you're not always smiling when you're, in everyday life. So I think it's good to have photos where you're not smiling some, just
Yeah,
depending on, but depending on what you're doing and what your intentions are.
I know. And that made me, I think that made the big difference, because when it got to the point where like, okay, my cheeks are hurting, Marsha. You know, and you're
Right,
okay,
right.
okay. Or I would do something, I would like relax for a minute, or and just stand like naturally, and you turn around and be like, oh, that's perfect, stand still. And you would, because
That's, yeah.
that is my natural pose when I'm standing or sit or whatever. You didn't try to make me into something that wasn't me. And it was empowering, I felt. And it comes through in the photos, it really does, because you
Yeah.
can tell that I'm relaxed and I'm at ease, and it's me, and it's how I stand, it's how I sit. It's not posing me in ways that are just totally unnatural for me to get some
Mhm.
preconceived notion of what a branding photo should look like, or a professional business photo should look like. So it has to go with your brand. And you were very
It
clear
does.
to catch that the Rebel Tribe and Smart and Sassy are both, those are my brands, and they're not, neither one of them are overly professional. Okay. Well, we're very
They're authentic. That's what I'm looking for, is authenticity and bringing that forward from you. And the process that you went through on your personal branding day is not too far from what I do with Boudoir. The difference would be, of course, your wardrobe, and there is more heavy posing in Boudoir and more feeling uncomfortable. A lot of times I always tell my clients, you're going to be sore after your session, and they don't believe me. And then they come back for their image reveal and they say, my gosh, I was so sore, I had to take some Tylenol that night. I'm like, I know, because modeling is hard work. It really is. And I mean, you may have been a little sore after your personal branding experience too, but good posing is posed but doesn't look posed. And that's what I'm going for.
Well, I love the fact that you do the couples too. I'm still working on the husband. If he'll come in and do it, I will do it. I will do a couple session, just because when I'm 67, so just when and he's older. So when we're both gone and the kids are cleaning out the room afterwards, and they come across the photo album, and I want them to open it and go, what the hell, mom?
I know, right? I
I will
know. Well,
breathe in.
I had a couple last year. I had a couple last year who, whenever we were working together, or I think it was on the day of the shoot, and I said, imagine someday whenever your kids find this album, and they both looked at me and said, they're going to have already seen them because we're putting these all over our house. And I'm like, oh, right. Okay. So they ended up actually buying 5 huge pieces of wall art, and they were absolutely gorgeous. They were so beautiful. They're at 24 by 36, 5 by 36s, which they hung in their bedroom. And they were so beautiful. So I think it's their kids are like, oh God, mom and dad, get a room. But
That's
they
my
did. They got a room, and I photographed them. And kind of to throw back a little bit on how we started this conversation is that I do photograph full nudes, and I mean, obviously, I have limits in the studio, but there are things I won't photograph. But it is primarily what the client wants. I used to be a little more strict about what I would photograph and the poses I would photograph, but ultimately, my clients are commissioning me to make art for them. So I'm going to do what they want within reason. If that makes sense.
yes. Well, I'm very tame, so you won't have to worry.
But we could do a contemporary glamour looking session with a couple too. So that can look sexy and you're just a little more clothed and it's on a backdrop instead of, beds and things like that. But there's many, many ways to skin a cat. Let's put it that way.
Well, if they don't get my desired reaction from the kids later, then it won't make so. Yeah, it's got to be.
It's true.
It's got to be.
It's true.
I'm working on
There's
it.
nothing quite as satisfying as embarrassing your children. I'm not sure why. My youngest daughter finally told me, she's like, Mom, you have to stop doing this. Like, you just can't do this anymore. I'm like, okay, I'll stop. But I don't know why it's so fun to embarrass your children.
It's payback. It's payback for all the years they embarrassed you growing up. I mean, seriously, how many times did they embarrass you growing up? Come on.
Countless.
So it's
Countless.
payback, okay, it's payback.
Yes. Yes, it's true.
It's fun, and I hope that some of the ladies that are listening will. I don't know how many of them are local ladies, but I hope that you'll consider going and having some sort of session with Marsha, just to get that feeling of how good you can look and how just being yourself. You don't have to be made up and dressed up to have good photos, and it is fun and it is empowering and I would do it again. I keep thinking, are the reasons for can I go get some pictures done? What do I need? Do I need more pictures of something? Because it is fun to spend the day. You do kind of feel, I don't know, you feel kind of special. You feel you look your best and you're having a good time. And so,
Yep.
yeah, go do it. And
I
if you're
love
not
that.
local, then come on a trip. Okay. Come on a trip. Come to Arkansas just for photos. I'm sure that.
Well, I've actually had people come from, let's see, I've had Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and let's see. I think that's so far. Oh, wait, I had one come from, no, wait, that was it. But all the surrounding states. Oh, Kansas. I've had all the surrounding states. I've had people come, and I actually have a friend who I would love for you to meet named Karen Kegg, and she has moved to Ecuador a couple of years ago. And she said something about needed some headshots on Facebook, and I was like, I'll do it for you because I'd done hers before. And she said, oh, you're still doing that? And I'm like, yes, I'm still doing that. So she will be flying in from Ecuador later this month. I'll be doing her, well, she's coming for other reasons too, but I'll be doing her headshots while she's here. So it's always very flattering when people are willing to travel to use your services.
Yes, it is. So, ladies, you hear me? It's fun. Just go try it. So now, if they want to, if they're listening to me and they've decided they just want an experience, even if it's not for anything professional, even if it's just to go and have some photos done, like she said, just for you. I mean, back in the day when I did the glamour shots thing, that was the whole intent. It wasn't for any special reason other than back then that was the thing, and you went, and
It was popular.
yeah, you went to feel beautiful for a day and to have some fun.
Well, boudoir photography is popular now, and I think that's one reason why I've been so busy lately. I think I had more shoots in April of this year than I've ever had in 1 month. I think I had 8. It was nuts. It still is nuts. I'm so far behind on editing. But if somebody wanted to find out more information, they could just Google Freedom Boudoir by Freedom Dreamer Photography, and my Google listing will come up. I've got 30 something 5-star reviews on that. You can read all those reviews of what it's actually like to work with me. freedomdreamerphoto.com is my website, and that's where you can see personal branding and headshots. And I'm still kind of working on building that website out, but NW Arkansas Boudoir, and that's BOUDOIR.com is my boudoir website. And I mean, I have so many photos from so many years that there's no way I could put a little bit of everything I've done on there. It's just a taste. So I'm also really active on Facebook, and that's where my tribe kind of lives. And I spend time on Facebook being who I think I am in the boudoir studio. I want to empower people. I mean, do I ever complain on Facebook? Sure. But for the most part, if you run up on me on Facebook, I want you to feel empowered, just like you do when you meet me or come into my studio. It's kind of who I am, and what I call myself is a light worker. I had an experience several years ago called regression therapy, and that's when the first time I ever heard the word light worker, and it had such an impact on me that I actually have a it's on this arm. I have a tattoo on this arm that says light worker. And that's what I believe my purpose is to bring light to darkness, and at the same time embrace the darkness and know that that's okay. But everything makes us who we are. And I'm just on the journey, and I want to take a few people with me and empower them and make them feel loved and special. And everybody deserves to have a photograph they love of themselves.
Well, I love what you're doing. Like I said, I totally enjoyed my experience. I will actively look for excuses to come and do it again.
I'm excited about it. I also run specials once in a while, do headshot events where I'll shoot all day, do headshots, and that gives you a little bit more product than you would get if you just did it normally. And then I run boudoir specials every once in a while too. I'm getting ready to run one. I just have time to sit down and put it together, but it's going to be a crazy good deal. So just follow me on Facebook, Marsha Lane Foster, and that's where you'll see it.
Well, this has been fun. So I really am so grateful that you got on here and talked to me. I know a lot of people are still sitting there shaking their heads at boudoir, and all I can tell you is go give it a try. And if you don't want to do that, like I said, you know how self-conscious I am, and yet I'm still sitting here considering it. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
not what you're thinking. So
Well, it's tailored to you.
and if you're not gutsy enough for that, or brave enough for that, or empowered enough for that, or whatever, then go do a branding session or a headshot session. Just get in front of the camera and get a few beautiful photos of yourself, and see what a difference it makes in how you feel about yourself and how you think of yourself, especially when you have those photos around that you can look at it. I love when I open up my website and there's that gorgeous picture that she did for me, and it's there, and I don't, I haven't cropped it down to a little tiny circle so that you can't barely see it because it's so awful. It's big and you can see it, and I love it
I
because
love that. I love that. I love that so much. You don't know how much that makes me happy, and how make that just makes my heart feel warm. I love it that you have photographs of yourself that you love right now. Because remember the first time you came and did headshots and how scared and stiff you were. And we ended up talking a lot that day, but just to see where you've come from in this realm of photographs and being used to seeing yourself in photographs, you're not even the same person you were the first time I met you.
so give it a whirl, ladies. And Marsha, I thank you so much for being my guest today. And
Thank you for having me.
all righty.
I appreciate you.
And I will post all the links to her site on the description so that you can click on them and get to her and get your sessions booked.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye.